Got you pinch hitting tonight, huh?
Great. All right, thanks everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. Let's go ahead and start with a Pledge of Allegiance. If you all please stand and join me. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So for a thought and prayer this evening, it's my turn. It feels like it was just my turn, but that's okay. We're going to return back to something that I like to do, which is look back at past planning discussions and past planning activities. And one of the things that I kind of came across this by accident. I was looking in old Davis County Clipper issues for something else. And in the December 8th, 1972 issue of the Davis County Clipper, there's an article right on the front page that says, "Keep Agriculture in Centerville." So we're talking just about 50 years ago. And the discussion essentially was that agriculture was deemed to be so important to Centerville that they wanted to keep the lower, flatter areas of the city for agriculture and only develop the homes, or really emphasize on developing the homes, up the hill. So they were working on a Hillside Ordinance, and they talked about, how steep of a grade they should have, or how, vegetation for fire breaks and stuff like that. But I did think it was interesting that they were only talking about putting homes up the hill in order to keep the agriculture down here. A few weeks later, about a month later, there was further discussion about looking to put some condominiums on basically the corner of Pages Lane and 7th East. So I don't know if you know Pages Lane and 7th East or not, but that's up the hill a little bit, just on the north side of Pages Lane. It's kind of kitty corner or across the street from the Bangeter Fields. And that would be, today, an interesting place to have condominiums. Very single-family residential up there. Anyway, I bring that up partly because I do think it's interesting how discussions about planning can change. How we think that, this is definitely the best thing, or this is definitely what we want to do. And, 50 years ago, if everything had gone according to what they were talking about 50 years ago, probably have a pretty dense housing up on the hillside, including condominiums and whatnot. And so, keep that in mind, that we are not the end of the discussion, that the discussion will continue, but it's just kind of interesting to look back and see how things change. So with that, I'll offer a brief prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity we have to gather together as commissioners to discuss the items within the city, and to discuss ways to help improve our community and do the things that are best for the community. We ask you to bless that we can keep our neighbors in mind as we make these decisions, that we can remember to do what we feel is best for them and for our city. And we ask you to bless that we can continue to have a good civil discourse, and we can do it with friendship. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, let's get going here. Not a super dense agenda tonight, which is kind of nice. We're going to talk about we have a public hearing, administrative decision for a conditional use permit for Holly Cakes, which is a residential home occupation. So we'll turn the time over to Mackenzie.
Thank you, Chair Daly and members of the commission. Can you see my screen now?
We can, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Holly Reynolds has applied for a conditional use permit to operate a bakery use or limited catering from her home. There are a few uses listed as automatically permitted in home occupation use. Bakery is not one of them. So there is a procedure which involves you and the public to approve such uses. I included a lot of the code in this staff report, so sorry if that was too much for you. I just figured I haven't seen one of these in my time here, so I wanted to be thorough about the review of the code. So the home occupation is intended to ensure that limited business activities allowed in a residential zone do not disturb the residential character of a neighborhood. So there are many bits of the ordinance to protect the residential character of a neighborhood. So there are a few things to be reviewed, namely the conditional use permit code, and then the home occupation code for permitted uses and conditional uses. All of those need to be acceptable for this conditional use to be approved. So the first items under the conditional use is that this home occupation should not be detrimental in any way, that this particular use is desirable to provide a service or facility, and that it can comply to any regulations, and that it works within the general plan. Specifically, there are items A through J, which do get covered also under home occupation uses. But specifically, conditional uses shouldn't have a detrimental impact on the zone that they are found in. Some of these things don't particularly apply here, mostly because it's in a already existing home that has sewer, water, landscaping, lighting, screening. It won't produce any noxious emissions. So staff is of the opinion that this meets that conditional use permit. One thing to note in the general plan, there is no real talk about home occupation uses. I think that is mostly because it's newer ordinance, but just that the neighborhood should maintain its low density residential. And this proposal does not seek to change the look of the home or the neighborhood. So this next list, A through K, is what needs to be reviewed for permitted uses and conditional uses. It does overlap with those conditional uses. I didn't list out each specific thing, but I did link to it. If there are people involved, customers, then there's limited hours of operation. No product display, you're not supposed to make a nuisance, can't use secondary buildings as part of the home occupation. It all has to happen within the home. And then the item I just wanted to note on fire inspection, the code says the fire district may inspect the home for compliance, and the home needs to comply at all times, but the fire district may go in. It's not required for home occupations. And then the final items specific to conditional uses is that nobody who does not live at the home can be an employee of the company. The use shall not disturb the neighborhood, and that if promotional meetings are part of the business plan, they cannot happen more than once a month. And the bakery can't increase the need for water, sewer, electricity. Based on the limited nature that Holly has informed staff about, we don't think this will prove a problem. And so staff is recommending approval for this item. I included a lot of conditions just to make sure that we have the code written into the approval. All of these items are from the code. I know Holly asked me earlier if she would need a Davis County Health permit, I think was the word. But she is going through the state cottage food production process. And so I pulled up that section of state code, and a local health department does not have jurisdiction to regulate production of food that has gone through the cottage food production process, but they can come in if there's been an incident of food poisoning. So she won't need to go through the Davis County Health Department, but she will need to finalize the cottage food production process in order to be eligible for a license, which the last condition is to gain a license from the city, which is where we check that she's gotten that state approval. So do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Does anybody else have any questions for Mackenzie? Very thorough, Mackenzie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
looks great.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, if no questions for Mackenzie, we will invite the applicant to come forward and speak to us. We may have some questions for you. If you just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Holly Reynolds.
Anything you'd like to say in response to what Mackenzie said, or anything in the staff report, or anything along those lines?
No, Mackenzie did a great job with that. That was a lot to put together. So this is pretty simple, pretty small, and don't foresee it being a huge thing or any sort of bother to the neighborhood or the street or the utilities. Just like to make cakes and cookies. I did ask somebody, I said, if I brought something, would that look like bribery? I didn't bring you anything, so I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Dang it.
I was hoping.
I'll bet you it was Lisa, huh?
You just tell us when your next meeting is, and then you
No.
pass the bribery point.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for that. I think the main thing is, of course, you probably figure out, we want to make sure that this doesn't negatively impact the neighborhood. And I get a pretty good feel for what we're trying to do here, but we're not going to have delivery trucks coming or going.
No delivery trucks.
Yeah, and,
What about supplies, delivery of supplies?
No, I just go to Costco with my grocery shop, and that's usually what I get, so if it doesn't fit in my Yukon, then it doesn't get to my house.
good. So it mentions in here that you're providing stuff to the schools and the community. I mean, are we talking about little cakes, or what are we talking about?
Well, so this is what kind of started. I work for Centerville Junior High School, and I've been doing some baking for them. And at the beginning of the year, the secretary said, "Hey, can I get your tax number so we can do this properly?" I'm like, it was just a few things that I've been baking, but I didn't have anything, so it looked like it would put her in a position, and I felt bad that I had put her in that position, so I thought, well, let's just make this legal so it helps them, and yeah, so that's how this all came about.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Any other questions?
Do you ever think maybe you would just say, my bakery's open from, 10 to noon, and anybody in the neighborhood could come?
No, no, it's special order
I was
only.
hoping you would say yes.
Oh,
There's a place in order.
Right.
that's so nice of you. I actually work at the junior high most every day, and so pretty much what I do is just special
So I'll
order.
send money with my junior high student.
Oh, there you go. So I actually did cake, like we did a cupcake walk, and I made cupcakes for that, and the kids could win cupcakes. But I think, if people wanted something, they could hopefully get in that work. It's all pretty new, this part of it, but hopefully being able to offer that services, but just really probably Centerville area and very low, and
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be great to have like crumble stores everywhere like that, but I don't think that's where
Do
we're
you
going
think
with
you'll
this.
expand to maybe other schools in Centerville?
Well, I used to work at Reading Elementary School, and I would make a few things for them as well. I'll be honest, a lot of what I make is like, if I know someone, it's really hard for me to charge, and so I'll do things free a lot, and so people, I don't know. I don't want to put a cap on success, but right now I just see it as this small little happy thing, and I can still work at the junior high, and so.
Okay.
But if you want anything, you've got my number now, just go ahead.
You've got your address.
You
Stop
too.
by.
You too.
Cool.
I think that's good. I think the main thing, of course, like you said, is just want to make sure there's not going to be a negative impact to the neighborhood. And it doesn't sound like that's where we're headed with this one, so.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, I was just going to ask about potential growth, and, initially now, this is, what it is, but 5 years from now, are you gonna have a booming operation where, you know, it could impact the neighborhood? So that's, maybe that's an unknown,
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if people like my stuff that much, so. But I would imagine if it got to that point, we'd figure out a different plan, because I don't think I would want, first of all that production to go on in my home and disrupt life as we know it that way, because there's a lot of specifications you have to follow to do the cottage program. Speaking of which, I have completed the cottage program and have had an inspection by the state already. And so I'm already registered and paid up and everything's done with the state. So,
So they're just waiting for us then?
yeah, but you're great.
That's okay. Oh, don't worry. People are waiting for us all the time. We're,
Well, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
I just want to say thank you for going through the proper channels. I know that this happens where people have their own at-home bakeries frequently, and they don't go through the proper channels, and it puts themselves at risk, their homes and liabilities. And I think you're doing it right, and I appreciate that. And I'd also just encourage you to charge for when you sell. Obviously, that's going to be your choice for when it's a fundraiser for a good cause or whatever, but too often, especially women, feel this sort of desire to help, and I think that's important. But if you're running a business, I encourage you to run a business and charge for that.
Thank you so much. That's some really good advice. Thank you.
okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. All right, this matter has been scheduled for a public hearing. We will go ahead and take the time now to open up the public hearing. Invite anybody who would like to come forward and speak to do so. You don't have to, but time is yours. If you'd just introduce yourself, please.
My name is Celine Blake, and I live right next door to Holly Reynolds. She makes amazing wedding cakes and birthday cakes, and she's been doing this for quite a while, and we've enjoyed living next to them, and it has not bothered us at all in the neighborhood. It's just enhanced life when you have a birthday, and she brings you this beautiful cake. So just want to let you guys know.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? I see some shaking heads, so I'm going to go ahead and, oh, yes, go ahead. Yep.
First of all, Beck, I'm Matt Reynolds, I'm Holly's husband, so I'm probably a little bit biased, but I also wanted to, I want to hug Becky, because what, the advice you gave Holly is what I'm telling her all the time, is that you're not charging enough, and so that, I appreciate it coming from you, and that meant a lot. Also, I think that just the questions of where this goes, that's something that we as a husband and wife and as parents are very, very mindful that this is, we have a home and we have children and there's priorities. But, you know, if it did go and get legs, that there's absolutely proper ways that we would want to do that, and would be very mindful of if we're not able to follow within the guidelines and the rules of Centerville City, then it means it's got to go somewhere else. I work for U.S. Foods. I'm the president of U.S. Foods, and so we, you know, I hope she becomes a customer of ours, you know, but that's her choice. But as far as deliveries and those kind of things, you know, there would never be any delivery trucks coming, but the goods that she buys would be picked up from me just coming home from work, and those kind of things, or Costco and the other things. So we'd be very mindful of that, because we want this zero impact to the neighborhood there. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Last chance. No? Okay. We will go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you for those comments. It's actually very refreshing to hear positive comments. A lot of times, we don't always hear positive comments, so that's very helpful. Thank you. All right, any further discussion among the Planning Commission? Or, according to procedure, you do have the opportunity to respond to any public comments if you'd like. You don't have to.
I just want to tell my neighbors, thank you so much for supporting them. That's so nice. I didn't know they were going to be the best neighbors ever. And thanks for my husband.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Any other comments from the planning commission? No? All right. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I do.
Great.
I hereby make a motion for the planning commission to approve the conditional use permit for the home occupation of Holly Cake located at 123 West, 1850 North, with conditions 1 through 11 in the staff report and suggested reasons for the action 1 through 4.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussions on the motion? No? Well, let's start down here with Commissioner Shagrud.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, that motion passes. Thank you. Mackenzie will be in touch with you on any next steps, what you need to do.
Yes, will do. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is, moving right along, is the Community Development Director's report, and there's Corey. So Corey, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Daly. You can hear me, I presume?
We can hear you, yes.
Awesome. As you notice, Mackenzie and I are participating by Zoom or via Zoom. We're down in the great town of Kanab at our planning conference, and it's been a half day of travel and a half day of conference, and we're finding out we have a lot of work to do coming up. So job security for us as staff, and it looks like it'll be job security for planning commissioners if that's what you worry about each night.
We don't.
Thanks to Jennifer and Lisa for helping us out so that we could attend and participate. Don't have much for you, just an update on your agenda. We do have some items for your 13th of April meeting. The Canyon Point was bumped from this meeting to the next agenda. There was some additional staff review needed. One thing that's interesting is Commissioner Shagrud asked me via email the other day about the Flip the Strip program. And the city has gone through a process to allow flexible landscaping in the park strips of the city. But Weber Basin has come back with some desire for cities to be a little bit more encouraging of drought tolerant landscaping and what being water wise in our landscaping. And so there's some amendments that they've suggested. We've taken a look at those models of some other cities, and if we can get prepared, we hope to maybe bring that to you so that we can officially participate in the Flip the Strip program. So hopefully that we can wrap that up with Weber Basin and come to agreement on staff what to do. Your other item is the parking. I've again gone over your meeting that we discussed this. We're looking at some amendments to the stacking, the car stacking you wanted us to take a look at. I've had conversations with ESI and also some of our parking waiver, additional parking waiver ideas. So hopefully that'll be ready for your 13th agenda too, so we can get to a completed number 2 on your goals. Update from the council, they approved that small amendment exempting government events from the food truck. And so you've completed the food truck ordinance, yay. We're excited, I know Lisa's excited. She's had too much fun learning about food trucks. Your other items, parking study you're aware of, we'll hopefully get that really soon. I know we've been working on the subdivision ordinance. That's a big apple that all of us have been through in a draft reading. I think Lisa's looking at some additional updates that are required before we bring that back to you. Some on your single family unplatted lots, we just haven't started that because we've been busy with the other items, but hopefully we can get to that goal before the fiscal year comes around. And then the last one is the general plan economic study. What I didn't understand when we applied is that it covers 2 different avenues for obtaining. It's not really a grant, it's funding assistance. And they have bumped our project over to the UDOT because UDOT's more involved in those larger picture issues and helping them out in understanding land use of different cities as they plan their transportation corridors. And so that is not due until I think another 2 weeks we'll know whether we made the cut list for UDOT's program. So we're a little bit behind, but we wanted to find out if we qualified. And if we did, we can start planning a direction. If we don't, I still think the city will undertake something to update the general plan, but the breadth of expectation will probably cut back a little bit. Other than that, unless you have questions, Kanab was great. It's 80 degrees, and we've had a good half-day training.
Nice. Thanks, Corey. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else have any questions
No.
for Corey?
That looks great.
Nope, sounds good, Corey. Can't wait to see the food truck ordinance come back for some surprise reason. Lisa, just kidding you.
It's because Kevin's gonna have a wedding, that's why.
It's gonna change everything.
We got time for that, don't
Planning
worry.
Commission initiated.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we got time.
Well, here's some background info on the Flip the Strip.
Yes.
So, in order to be eligible for Flip the Strip, which is a program where Weber Basin pays you a portion of the cost that it would take you to transfer your landscape from a grass to a water-wise, your city has to have certain landscape ordinance requirements. And Centerville doesn't have that, so we're not eligible. There's only, I think, Corey might know for sure, but I think there's only like 3 cities that are a part of the Weber Basin Water District that are eligible. So Centerville isn't one of them, but I think it would be really great if we were one of them so that we could, because the Flip the Strip program is all funded by EPA grant money. And I just think that, why not?
Yeah.
Right? And it would just give in my experience, and most residents, unless they have an incentive money-wise to do something, they're very hesitant to do it.
So this gives money to the property owner to do
Right.
that.
Right?
The other thing it does is there have been people who have wanted to, regardless of being paid, and then they hear about programs like this and they're like, oh, I'd like to participate, but we're providing them an opportunity to be in that program,
Yes.
not
Yes.
only as well.
Right. So the Flip the Strip program, part of it is the Weber Basin, or the Flip the Strip people have to come out and inspect your landscape before you flip it to make sure that it's actually alive and you're not just using money to, to replace plant material that's dead already. So anyway, I think it's a great program. So I'm excited Corey's working on it.
Great.
Okay, sounds good. Look forward to hearing about that one next time. All right, let's go on to the last item on our agenda, which is the minutes from our March 9th meeting. We'll go through these quickly, but in the usual fashion. Anybody have any changes or comments on page 1? Page 2? Page 3?
I actually had one on page 2, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, no, never mind, I didn't. That wasn't the page. Let me look.
False alarm.
False alarm. Okay, got it. Yep, never mind.
Okay. Page 3?
Now I'm like trying to find it. Okay, I think I was actually looking at something else, so never mind.
Okay.
I saw a he after Commissioner Wright, but then it was Mr. Snyder afterward, and so I thought there was a confusion, and I reread it just right now, and it's not, so it looks great.
Oh, okay.
Checking pronouns.
Yes. Not that it really matters, but.
All right. Page 4. Anybody have any comments on page 4? All right. Do you want to make a motion?
I motion to accept the minutes as posted.
Second.
Perfect. We have a motion and a second. All together, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?